you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
What was the crime of which you were convicted? Did you in fact commit those acts?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Privacy was very important to Jeffrey Epstein.
Please state your full name.
I'm Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands. Same answer.
Were solicited for prostitution in Paris.
Same answer.
Have you ever solicited a minor for prostitution anywhere at any time?
Again, I'm going to assert my right. What'd you study? Physics.
Mr. Epstein built little cabanas and beach houses all across the island.
66 different days that he violated his probation. He would go to the airport, jump in his helicopter, who knows where he went.
Yes, I report back to jail at 8 p.m.
Every single day?
Yes, sir.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis?
No, in fact, the Supreme Court recently said that the Fifth Amendment right is there to protect the innocent. So that's the way I'd like to answer that.
Talk about Jane Doe 102, Virginia Roberts.
What's the last name? How's it spelled?
Do you know Virginia Roberts?
So she's again who?
Prosecuted for these crimes. Isn't that right?
Objection, argumentative, harassing, and calls for a legal conclusion.
Can you spell it? Can you spell it for me, please?
Good morning, people. Patty Ads here, Attic and Skywalker, the chosen one of YouTube. We got a new Epstein Files episode, and I'm doing dictation this morning. Sunday morning. We are on the 24th of October, 2020, south of 10 days, or I think we're 10 days exactly, or 9 days, excuse me, until election 2020. But before we get to that, let's go to the Epstein Files, and I'm just going to be doing dictation of the deposition. So let's get right to it without further ado. Let me do a little screen share if that's copacetic with you guys. Might just do a small one right there so you guys can see me, and Exhibit 6, where we're starting this morning. United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Virginia L. Joffrey, plaintiff against Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the videotaped deposition of Ghislaine Maxwell, taken at 575 Lexington Avenue, New York, on the 22nd of April, 2016. And we have the start right here. The videographer is James Christie, and the court reporter is Leslie Fagan. Will counsel state their appearance and whom they represent, and then court reporters swear in Ms. Maxwell. Ms. McCauley says, "My name is Sigurd McCauley with my colleague Meredith Schultz. We're both with Boyd Schiller and Flexner. We represent Ms. Joffrey." Mr. Edwards says, "Brad Edwards, I also represent Ms. Joffrey." Paul Cassell, "I also represent Ms. Joffrey." Mr. Poliuka, Jeff Poliuka and Laura Menninger on behalf of Ms. Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, called as a witness, having been duly sworn by a notary public, was examined and testified as follows. Examination by Ms. McCauley. Good morning. I'm going to explain some of the rules that will happen with respect to depositions. Have you ever been deposed before? Ghislaine responds, I have not. Macaulay, what is going to happen here? We have a court reporter and a videographer. What they do is take down the words that we say, so when I ask you a question, they will record what you say in response to that. So we have to be mindful that in order for them to do their job, we cannot talk over each other. Another issue you have is to be wary of is that in response, you can't give a nonverbal. In other words, nodding yes or no, they need to hear verbal response so they can record it on their transcript. So that's important for you to remember as we go through the day. If you forget, I will be sure to remind you. Is there anything that would prevent you from giving truthful testimony today? No, there is not. You are not on any medications or anything that would inhibit your ability to remember or give truthful testimony. I am not, says Ghislaine. Mr. Pagliuca, could you identify the assistant in the room? Ms. Macaulay says, this is Emma Rosen from our New York office. She's a paralegal. Ms. Maxwell, can you please state your address for the record? Currently redacted. What is your date of birth? Redacted. When do you first recruit a female to work for Mr. Epstein? Mr. Pagliuca, I object to the form and foundation of the question. I believe this is confidential information. I ask anyone who is not admitted in this case be excused from the room, please. So the response to the question would, Pagliuca, the subject matter of this question is confidential, and I'm designating it as confidential. Macaulay, I just want to make that clear for the record. Edwards, so we don't delay the deposition, I will step out of the room, but I think that it's important to lay the record that, Pagliuca, I'm sorry, you are not admitted in this proceeding, so you're not entitled to make any record. If Miss Macaulay wants to make a record, she can. Edwards, I can make a record right now. Pagliuca, maybe we should get the judge on the phone and talk about it. Edwards, the record will be short. This is the precise reason why Miss Joffrey wants me in this case, and I am unable to effectively represent her at this time because I am unable to have access to the confidential information, which includes apparently the entire deposition of Miss Maxwell. But for the sake of not further delaying this, I will be outside the room. Ms. Macaulay, thanks, Mr. Edwards. I would like to just wait for him to leave. That's fine. I would just like to clarify the address. I'm in the process of selling the house, so while I'm still receive mail there, it's not my actual physical address. It's in the process of being sold. It still requires some final paperwork to be done, so just for the purposes of clarity. Do you have a new address where you will be living? I do not. For the purpose of the record, if there is something I ask you that you later remember something else or need to correct your testimony in some way, you can do that. Just let me know what it is, and we will go back to the question, and can you clarify? Maxwell says, of course. I just wanted to be clear. There is still some paperwork pending for final release, but it's in the process of sale. But I don't have another address currently, so whilst that should still be a record that the mail could be forwarded there, so for purposes of clarity, I want it to be clear. So we're done there, Ghislaine. I appreciate that. So Ms. Maxwell, when did you first recruit a female to work for Mr. Epstein? Pagliuca, again, I object to the form and foundation of the question. Question, you can answer the question. First of all, can you please clarify the question? I don't understand what you mean by female. I don't understand what you mean by recruit. Please be more clear and specific about what you are suggesting. Are you a female? Is that the sex that you are? I am a female. That's what I'm referring to, a female. And I'm asking you when you the very first time you recruited a female to work for Mr. Epstein. Again, I don't understand what female. I'm a 54-year-old woman. I'm not making it any age of a female that you recruited to work for Mr. Epstein. Again, I was somebody who hired a number of people to work for Mr. Epstein, and hiring is one of my functions. And when is the first time you hired someone to work for Mr. Epstein? A female. As best as I can recollect, a woman that the age probably of about 40 or 50 was in sometime in 1992. How long did you work for Mr. Epstein? I started working for him at some point in 1992, and the nature of my work relationship with him changed over time. So from around 2002, 2003, the work lessened considerably. When did you, Mr. Pagliuca cuts off. Can I interject for a moment? If we're talking about background, Ms. McCauley, I'm in the middle of a question. Let me finish it, and then you can interject. When you say 2002 to 2003 that the work lessened, when did you complete working for Mr. Epstein? When was the last time you were employed by him? The last date. I believe I still was helping him in a very nominal way. Maybe an hour or two a year at some time 2008 and 2009. Pagliuca. So if you're going to be talking about general background, I don't need to designate that as confidential. So if you want to have them come back in, that's fine. I assumed by your first question you were going into more sensitive areas. I will leave it up to you, but if this is a general background, it will not be designated as confidential. Macaulay. I appreciate that. I will jump back into my other questions. Pagliuca. So we will keep it as confidential. When you were first employed by him in 1992, what were you hired to do? First, I was consulting, and what I did was I helped with decorating houses and in hiring staff to help run those houses. Ghislaine Maxwell was decorating houses. Would you believe that? Did your duties change over the course of 1992 to 2009, which is almost 17 years? Object to the form and foundation. My job entailed running the homes that he had, but much more importantly, most of the houses had construction. And so whilst in 1992 there was no construction project, there was construction projects that began after that time, and I was in charge not only of hiring architects, I was also in charge of all the filings or overseeing that like a general contractor would. I also helped with hiring the architects, hiring the builders, reviewing the contracts for the builders, coordinating the building projects, coordinating how the projects would lay out, the timing of the projects, and all the various materials that they would require to run a very substantial building project. That's the nature of the job I was dealing with. How old was the youngest female you ever hired to work for Jeffrey? Object to the form and foundation by Pagliuca. You can answer. I have not any idea exactly of the youngest adult employee that I hired for Jeffrey. When you say adult employee, do you ever hire someone that was under the age of 18? Never. Did you ever bring someone who was invite someone under the age of 18 to Jeffrey's home, any of his homes? Object to the form and foundation. Can you repeat the question? Says Ghislaine. Did you ever invite somebody who was under the age of 18 to Jeffrey's homes? Same objections by Pagliuca. Ghislaine. I have a number of friends that have children and friends of mine that have kids. And in the invitation of my friends and their kids, I'm sure I may have invited some of my friends' kids to come. Anybody that is not a friend of yours, any female under the age of 18, did you invite them to come to Jeffrey's home? Object to the form and foundation. Again, as I said, I'm not aware of inviting anyone other than the friends of mine who have children to the house. Did you invite Virginia Giuffre to come to Jeffrey Epstein's home when she was under the age of 18? Object to the form and foundation. Virginia Roberts held herself out as a masseuse and invited herself to come and give a massage. My question is, did you invite Virginia Roberts when she was under the age of 18 to come to Jeffrey Epstein's home? Mr. Pagliuca. Object to the form and foundation. Again, Virginia Roberts was a masseuse. I'm not asking if she was a masseuse. I'm asking you if you invited her to come to Jeffrey Epstein's home. Okay, we're going to take a slight pause here, look at comments. And I want to check to make sure our BNT is going. We will take a peek here. Thanks for joining me this morning, folks. Sunday morning, the 24th of October. And we are going over the Epstein files here. Hopefully people can join me this morning. Okay, yeah, so we're live on BNT. And what I actually might do is end the stream on my YouTube channels and just make people go over to BNT. But let me know what you guys think as far as that. If you guys don't have a brand new YouTube channel account, maybe I can wait to do that until next broadcast. But we are live on brand YouTube, and I want to give people a shout out to for joining along with me. Let's get back into the deposition. Again, there would be no course to have a conversation with Virginia unless she held herself out to be a masseuse. I'm not asking the question. I'm asking you if you invited her to come to Jeffrey Epstein's home when she was under the age of 18. Again, I repeat, she was a masseuse. And in the form and as my job, I was to have people who he wanted for various things, including massage. She came as a masseuse. So you invited her to his home to come to give a massage. Is that correct? Pagliuca objects to the form and foundation, misstates the witness testimony. Again, I did not invite Virginia Roberts. She came as a masseuse. She was invited her to come as a masseuse. She just showed up at the front door. Mr. Pagliuca objects to the form and foundation. Ms. Roberts held herself out. I'm not asking how she held herself out. I'm asking how she arrived at the home. Did you meet her and invite her to come to the home? Or how did she arrive there? Pagliuca objects to the form and foundation. Ms. Roberts held her to be a masseuse, and her mother drove her to the house. When did you first meet Virginia Roberts? I don't have a recollection of the first meeting. Do you recall meeting her in Mar-a-Lago? Like I said, I don't have a recollection of meeting Miss Roberts. So you recall Miss Roberts being brought to the home by her mother. Is that your testimony? That is my testimony. And that is the first time you met her. Like I said, I don't recall meeting her for the first time. I do remember her mother bringing her to the house. Are you a member at Mar-a-Lago? No. Have you visited Mar-a-Lago? Yes. Did you visit Mar-a-Lago in the year 2000? I'm pretty sure I did. When Miss Roberts arrived at the home with her mother, what happened? I spoke to her mother outside of the house, and what I don't recall is exactly what happened because I was talking to her mother she was in the house. Did you introduce Ms. Roberts to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't recall how she actually met Mr. Epstein. As I said, I spoke to her mother the entire time outside the house. Did you walk Ms. Roberts up to the upstairs location at the Palm Beach house to meet Mr. Epstein? Mr. Pagliuca objects to the form and foundation. You can answer. I just explained I spent the entire time talking to Virginia's mother outside the house. So the answer to the question is no. No. Did you not walk her up and introduce her to Epstein? I just said no. Okay, and I'm going to put the link to the BNT on the chat if people want to head over there. There it is. Did you participate in a massage this first time when she first came to the home and you were speaking with her mother? She was in the home. Is that correct? You brought her into the home. Object to the form and foundation. I will repeat again. I was standing outside with her mother. So very difficult for me to do anything else at the time. So no, I did not take her upstairs. Did you participate? Ghislaine says, Virginia lied 100% about absolutely everything that took place in that first meeting. She has lied repeatedly, often, and is just an awful fantasist. So very difficult for anything to take place that she repeated because I was with her mother the entire time. So did you have or did you give a massage with Virginia Roberts and Mr. Epstein during the first time Virginia Roberts was at the West Palm Beach house? Polyuka objects to the forum and foundation. Yes or no? No. Have you ever given a massage with Virginia Roberts in the room and Jeffrey Epstein? Mr. Polyuka, object to the forum and foundation. No. Have you ever given Jeffrey Epstein a massage? Object to the forum and foundation. And I'm going to instruct you now to answer that question. I don't have any problem with you asking questions about what the subject matter of this lawsuit is, which would be, as you've termed it, sexual trafficking of Ms. Roberts. To the extent you are asking for information relating to any consensual adult interaction between my client and Mr. Epstein, I'm going to instruct her not to answer because it is not part of this litigation, and it is her private confidential information, not subject to this deposition. Ms. McCauley, you can instruct her not to answer. This is your right, but I will bring her back for another deposition because it is part of the subject matter of this litigation, so she should be answering these questions. This is civil litigation, deposition, and she should be responsible for answering these questions. Mr. Polyuka, I disagree, and you understand the bounds that I put on it. No, I don't, says Ms. McCauley. I will continue to ask my questions, and you can continue to make your objections. Did you ever participate from the time period of 1992 to 2009? Did you ever participate in a massage with Jeffrey Epstein and another female? Mr. Polyuka, objection. Do not answer that question. Again, to the extent you are asking for some sort of illegal activity as you've construed in connection with this case, I don't have any problem with you asking that question. To the extent these questions involve consensual acts between adults, frankly, they're none of your business, and I will instruct the witness not to answer. Ms. McCauley, this case involves sexual trafficking, sexual abuse. Questions about her having interactions with other females is relevant to this case. She needs to answer these questions. Mr. Polyuka, I'm instructing her not to answer. Ms. McCauley, then we will be back here again. Have you ever given a massage to Mr. Epstein with a female that was under the age of 18? Can you repeat the question? Says Ghislaine. Yes. Have you ever given a massage to Mr. Epstein with a female that was under the age of 18? No. Have you ever observed Mr. Epstein having a massage given by an individual, a female, who was under the age of 18? No. Have you ever observed females under the age of 18 in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein at his home? Polyuka objects to the forum and foundation. Again, I have friends that have children. I'm not talking about friends, I'm talking about individuals. Mr. Polyuka, I'm going to object to you interrupting the witness who is answering your question. The question was, have you ever seen anyone female under the age of 18 at the house? And that's the question she was answering. If you want to strike that question and ask another question, feel free, but let the witness respond, please. I will do that. Have you ever observed a female under the age of 18 at Jeffrey Epstein's home that was not a friend, a child, one of your friend's children? Again, can't testify to that because I have no idea what you were talking about. You have no idea what I'm talking about in the sense you never observed a female under the age of 18 at Jeffrey Epstein's home that was not one of your friend's children. Is that correct? Polyuka objects to the forum and foundation. How would I possibly know how someone is when they are at his house? You are asking me to do that. I cannot possibly testify to that. As far as I'm concerned, everyone who came to his house was an adult professional person. Are you familiar with the police report that was issued in respect to the investigation in this matter? Object to the forum and foundation. Are you familiar with the police report that was used in this matter? The investigation of Jeffrey Epstein has been produced as a document in this matter. I have seen the police report, and this is Maxwell Exhibit Number 1, police report marked for identification. The police report that you have in front of you, you can turn to page 28 of that report. The numbers are on the top right-hand corner. You'll see some redactions in this report, Ms. Maxwell. The redacted information is redacted because it reveals the name of a minor, someone who's under the age of 18. On page 28, in the third paragraph, about halfway down, it says, redacted stated she performed the massage naked. At the conclusion of this massage, Epstein paid redacted $200 for the massage. He explained, I know you're not comfortable, but I will pay you if you bring some girls. He told her the younger the better. Redacted stated once tried to bring a 23-year-old to Epstein, and he stated the female was too old. Have you heard Mr. Epstein use the phrase, the younger the better? I have no recollection of hearing that. Have you used the phrase in talking to Redacted and asking her to recruit females for Mr. Epstein? The younger, the better. Polyuka objects to the form and foundation of the question. First of all, can you break the question apart? Have you used the phrase, the younger, the better, in speaking to Redacted and asking her to recruit females for Jeffrey Epstein? Object to the form and foundation. You can answer it's yes or no. No, that's absolutely not true. On the second part of the question, I have not asked Virginia to recruit females. And the first part of the question, if you repeat that again, the question will be asked. Or the question you asked. Will you read back the question? I believe I answered the later part of the question. The first part of the question, it's impossible for me to recall events that took place 16 years ago, but it doesn't sound like something I would say. On page 28, that same paragraph, Redacted, was asked how many girls in total she brought to Epstein. She stated that she can remember. Redacted stated that she brought, and it's redacted there, and the victim in this case. Let me ask my question. I have a question pending right now. Are you testifying that you were unaware of any underage, under the age of 18, females coming to Jeffrey Epstein's home to perform massages? Object to the form and foundation by Mr. Polyuka. I think that's his one-liner. And I'm doing the Italian pronunciation of his name. I believe the American English pronunciation is Pagliuca. But in Italian, the G is silent when it comes before an L. So, FYI. Ghislaine answers, you need to straddle that question in a different time period. When I was there at the time present, the people that gave Jeffrey, men and women who gave Jeffrey massages, were adults over the age of 18. Question. Never in your time at any of Jeffrey Epstein's homes were you present when a female under the age of 18 was there to give Jeffrey Epstein a massage? Polyuka. Object to the form and foundation. First of all, as I said when I was present, it's a yes or no. No, it is not. You can answer the question in full, but please provide yes or no as an initial matter. I cannot answer yes or no. It's not bounded by time. It's entirely possible I could have been in a room or even in the vicinity of Palm Beach when somebody came and I would not know. How would I know when somebody was in the house? There's no way I could know. Did you stay at Jeffrey Epstein's home when you were in Palm Beach? Most of the time. So how is it that you wouldn't know if there was a female in the home under the age of 18 if you were staying there? Well, first of all, when I was staying there, the house is actually quite large, and I have a very busy job, and I had an office with a door, so the door would be shut and I would be working. I'm not responsible for what Jeffrey does, and I don't always pay attention to what happens in the house. I'm very busy. So you're testifying that you never observed a female under the age of 18 at Jeffrey Epstein's West Palm Beach home. Object to the form and foundation by Polyuka. I already answered that question, I believe. You didn't answer the question. I did. Did you observe a female under the age of 18 at Jeffrey Epstein's home in Palm Beach? Like I said, I work. I don't sit there and watch people coming in and out of the house. Cannot possibly tell you if I'm in the home that somebody was there that I did not see. I cannot comment on it. I have no idea. Did you observe females at Jeffrey Epstein's home that were laying out topless in the back of the home? In other words, without a shirt on. So that's just another of Virginia's lies. So let's be clear. At the time when I was there and present, frequently at the house, it was unusual to see people without their clothes on. When you say unusual, did you observe people without their clothes at Jeffrey Epstein's home? Jeffrey, I spelled Epstein wrong. Epstein. Can I answer? Says Ghislaine. Sometimes people in the privacy of a house and swimming pool, I have seen people from time to time take their top off. I've seen people do that time to time. Very unusual. Naked people around the people at any frequent period of time I have never seen. Were they under the age of 18? As I was saying, people when I was in the house were of adult age. If they were children, friends of my family, or friends that were there, they may well have been because I have nieces and nephews under the age of 18. I cannot testify to anybody else. Just another one of Virginia's many fictitious lies and stories to make this a salacious event to get interest and press. It's absolute rubbish. Were you in charge of hiring individuals to provide massages for Jeffrey Epstein? They just keep rewording it. My job included hiring people. There were 6 homes. As I sit here, I hired assistants, I hired architects, I hired decorators, I hired cooks, I hired cleaners, I hired gardeners, I hired pool people, I hired pilots, I hired all sorts of people. Pilots like Nadia Marchenko, maybe. In the course, and a very small part of my job was from time to time to find adult professional massage therapists for Jeffrey. When you say adult professional massage therapist, where did you find these massage therapists? From time to time, I would visit professional spas. I would receive a massage, and if the massage was good, I would ask that man or woman if they did home visits. Did you ever hire a masseuse that was under the age of 18? Polyuka objects to the form and foundation. Did you? Again, I don't hire massage therapists. That was not my job. You just said you did. You just said you hired a massage therapist for Jeffrey Epstein. I'm asking if you hired a massage therapist who was under the age of 18. Let me correct myself. When I meant hire, I did not mean hire in the way you're doing it. What I say is that I went to spas and I met people, and if they did home visits, Jeffrey would then in fact hire them. I'm not responsible for hiring someone, and they were not full-time, so it's not a correct characterization. Did you ever, your term is meet, did you ever meet a person that was under the age of 18 that Jeffrey then hired as a masseuse? Polyuka objects to the form and foundation. All right, I'm going to leave it there, people, and let me just zoom out. There we go. So this is another episode of the Epstein Files, and I wanted to thank everybody for joining. I'll definitely do more episodes soon. Got a lot of deposition pages to read, and I'm coming to you live from Swing State Studios here at the Neighborhood News Hour, broadcasting live on brand new YouTube. And I want people to go and support the brand new YouTube channel if you would be so inclined. I'm currently streaming over there as well. And I think what I'm going to do next time is start out the stream on YouTube and then try to send people over to BNT because I can do super chats over there as well. So stay frosty, folks, and we'll see you all next time.